Today is August 15th, 2023. My name is Karen Neurohr. I am at Oklahoma State University in the Edmond Lowe Library with Jack Hodgson, who's an associate professor in the School of Media and Strategic Communications, which that is one of 24 departments in the College of Arts and Sciences. Thank you for participating in this interview today, Jack.
My pleasure, Karen.
We are here today to talk about Grandparent University, an initiative that was planned by the OSU Alumni Association in 2002 and launched in 2003. So this year marks the 21st anniversary year since it was first planned for Grandparent University. Grandparent University is often shortened to GPU, so I may sometimes call it GPU during this interview. Before we begin talking about Grandparent University, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, I grew up in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and first time I went to college at the University of Minnesota, flunked out, went back a year later, dropped out, and then Uncle Sam came calling. So this was 1970. Vietnam was in full swing. And so I spent the next 4 years, 3 of the 4 years on an aircraft carrier in the Tonkin Gulf, and did 2 cruises. And when I got back, the war was over by that point, so I got early out to go to school. Went to Hennepin County Community College, but I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. And then I happened to see an ad on television for Brown Institute, which was a trade school for broadcasters. And when I had been a freshman at University of Minnesota, I had worked at the student radio station and had a great time. And so I thought, well, that sounds interesting. They had a 10-month program. They practically guaranteed you job placement. Their placement service was better than 90%. So went through that program, got my first professional job in Nevada, Missouri, down in the southwest part of the state, and was there for 2 years. Then I worked at a station in Detroit Lakes, Minnesota. Beautiful area, highly encourage you to visit there. They have 412 lakes within 25 miles. These are real natural lakes, not Oklahoma lakes. And was there for a year, and then got a job offer in St. Cloud, Minnesota. And I was there for about 8 years. And while I was there, I started out in sales, advertising sales, and then management and I came to the mutual agreement perhaps that wasn't my best career option. So I still had most of my GI Bill left. So started at St. Cloud State University, and I got my bachelor's degree in mass communications and applied philosophy. They had a double major program. And while I was doing that, I was working full-time at the radio station. I worked overnights, and then I'd go to school through the morning into the early afternoon, go home, sleep for a few hours, then go back to work. So I did that 6 nights a week, while having 4 kids. And my wife worked full-time, my wife at the time. And so, as I said, I was there about 8 years, and shortly before I graduated, a job opening came up in the news department. And so I got that and did that for about 2.5 years. And we had one of the largest news departments in the state, if not the largest radio news department. We had 4 full-time news reporters. We had 2 full-time ag reporters. We had 2 full-time sports reporters. And we also had weather radar, which back in the mid-'80s, radar on the radio? But it worked, and it was great. And after that, um, I got a job as news director at a small station in Webster City, Iowa, north central part of the state. Which, if you're into politics, it's a great place to be every 4 years. And I started there in July of '86, and then the '88 campaign came along, and all of the major candidates hit, even our small town of 9,000. So I interviewed most of them, several of them, like Mike Dukakis and Dick Gephardt, several times because they kept coming back. And so if you're into politics, like I say, it's a great place to be every 4 years. Although not so great this year, thanks to the Democrats shaking things up a bit. But while I had been at St. Cloud State, I decided that at some point I wanted to teach. So after I had been news director for about 3.5 years, started looking at grad school. And I applied to the University of Missouri, which has the world's oldest and many would say best journalism program in the country, and got accepted and started there in January of 1990 and graduated in May of '92. And while I was there, my wife was working full-time, and I had 3 part-time jobs. I was doing telemarketing, one of those lovely people that you get phone calls from all day long, and also working at the TV station as a news producer and at the public radio station, both of which were owned by the university. So I got some great experience, especially with television, which I didn't have any experience in at that point. And then my last semester started looking for jobs and started sending out applications. And I got a nice letter of rejection from Dr. Marlon Nelson, who at the time was director of the program here at Oklahoma State, saying he really liked my background and everything, keep my resume on file. I said, right. A few months later that summer, right around just after July 4th, I got a call from him. He said, we have a job. You're going to teach this and this. Do you want it? I said, well, I'm going to be down that way this weekend because I was interviewing for another job at Grandparent University in Lawton. Mm-hmm. And can we get together and talk? He said, sure. So I spent, we drove down Thursday night, grabbed a couple hours sleep, and then I spent all day Friday interviewing, meeting people at Cameron. And then Saturday morning we drove here and met with Dr. Nelson and Dr. Welch, who was one of the faculty members, got a tour and basically said, want you to teach this in this class. Do you want the job? And what Cameron was offering was news director of the public radio station there. Maybe I could teach a speech class or something, but the main job was news director. And I had had enough of news by that point and wanted to just teach. And so I went with that. And it was unfortunate the way I got the job, because the opening occurred when Lisa John, who was a faculty member here, was killed in a car accident, 4th of July that summer. She worked part-time as a producer at Channel 5 in Oklahoma City. And that's how that job opening came about. And but I've been here ever since, fall of '92. So, and I've taught everything you could teach in the broadcast part of our major, plus some of the classes. So.
Sounds like you landed where you needed to be then.
I did. I was very fortunate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about Grandparent University. It's my understanding that you've participated every year that they've held it. Is that
Every year but
accurate?
one. I think it was about the third or fourth year, and they weren't expanding majors at that point. There were only about 8 or 10. They wanted to give some other departments the opportunity to do it. So they said, we'll skip you this year, but you can come back next year.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that 1 year, we've done it every year.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty remarkable. I think there's only 3 or 4 people that have that much experience with it. So that was why I was interested in interviewing you. Do you remember how you first heard about it?
I want to say it was Chase Carter, who worked for the Alumni Association. He was doing video for them at the time. He was one of our alumni and had been through both our bachelor's and master's programs, and asked if I'd be interested in doing it. And I said, sure. So one of my colleagues at the time, Mark Krine, we put together a program. It's Mark with a C.
Oh, okay. And what was his last name?
Krine, Krein. What Chase had put together, he had written scripts that were little feature stories about different landmarks on campus. Edmund Lowe Library, Boone Pickens Stadium, which at the time was, I think, Lewis Field still, Gallagher Iba Arena, and Willard Hall, and some of the other places around campus, the administration building. And so we had the scripts, and we had some still photos and some video that was shot. But what we would have them do, we would have the grandparents and the legacies go to those places with a camera and a tripod and a microphone and record a stand-up where you're seeing the reporter on campus. The legacies were the reporters. And it was all scripted out, so all they had to do was record it. But June and July in Oklahoma is very warm, and we found that after several years of this, that it would be much easier if we just recorded everything in the TV studio. So we have a green screen there, so we put them in front of the green screen, and what that enables us to do is put any image we want behind them. So typically you'll see this when you watch your local news. You're seeing the weather forecast, you're seeing the meteorologist pointing out all these different places. They can't see that because it's a green screen, but they have monitors off camera. That's what they're looking at, so they know that what they're pointing at is going to show up and make sense on camera. So that worked really well. And then we would have the pictures and the video loaded in computers, and we would load in their stand-ups and their voiceovers, their recording of the stories. And then we would show them how to edit them. We'd use Apple's Final Cut Pro, their professional video editing program. And the kids, of course, picked it up right away. Especially, the last 5-10 years, they've become even much more adept at those things. So didn't require a lot of training, which is nice. And after Mark had moved on to another program, Chase had helped with it the first couple of years, but then he got so busy with the overall GPU that he couldn't anymore. That's when Mark came in to help me with it. And then more recently, Max Andrews, who's general manager of Ocali Media Group. And he has been helping, and then he had Kelly Kerr before, and now he has Sambor Dale doing multimedia for the Ocali. And so they have been helping us with the editing. And also our engineer, Landon Green, Green with an E at the end. He's been helping us as long as he's been engineer, and his predecessors had helped as well. So we get the kids about 1:30 on Thursday afternoon. We have them till about 4. So we get everything shot up in the studio, get it all loaded in the computers, and hopefully get a good start, if not even finish editing the stories that afternoon. Then Friday morning they come by, we check, make sure everything's okay, and then about 10 o'clock, Tess Mowney, one of our alumna, who's an anchor reporter at News on 6 in Tulsa, she comes over, dressed in black and orange, of course, and we put it into a little news program, which she anchors, and the kids will be up on the set with her, introducing their packages, kind of like what you see on a regular local newscast. And then we edit it all together, copy it to a jump drive, and send that home with them. And I think the Alumni Association also posts it to their website so anybody could watch the newscasts. But kids have a lot of fun with it. The grandparents seem to enjoy it, especially since we don't have them trucking camera gear and tripods all over campus anymore. And we stay in a nice, cool building. But that's basically the program. And we're only limited by the amount of computers we have, because we only have 20 in a lab. But we can't have 20 legacies. So usually we'll have 8 to 10, which gives us 8 to 10 stories. The program will run 15, 20 minutes once it's edited together. And that's basically it.
So do you give the kids all of the stories or just their own?
Just their own.
Their own.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they get experience reading from a teleprompter, which is much harder than you might think.
Mm-hmm.
There is a skill to it. And of course, it depends on the students. The legacies have to be a certain age, so they read well. A couple of years ago, we had one poor girl who could barely read. She was old enough, but for whatever reason, had a hard time reading. And that's when Kelly was still helping us with it. And he did a magnificent job editing everything out, because her grandfather was standing there telling her what to say. And so we had both his voice and her voice. So he had to go in and cut out all of the grandfather stuff. And it came out all right. Kelly did an awesome job.
What motivated you to participate?
There's a couple things I do in the summer. This is one of them, GPU. The other thing I've done even longer is the University of Missouri started back in the 80s a program to encourage minorities to get into journalism. And initially it was exclusively for minorities. Mm-hmm. And it was called AHANA. So Asian, Hispanic, African American, Native American. Hmm. And students would apply for it, and we'd have usually anywhere from 25 to 30 students from around the country. And when I first started doing the program back in the mid-90s, it was a 2-week program, and coaches like myself, professional journalists, and a few educators, we'd stay in the dorms with the students, separately, of course, but then they got a new person to head a program. She said, no more of that. Coaches, they get motel rooms, which was much nicer, especially since the first dorm that I slept in that first year was not air conditioned. And this was a summer program also. Over the years, the program has changed. It's gotten shorter. Now it's 5 days, and it's open to anyone. It's not just limited to minorities. And Dow Jones was a major funder of the program at one time, and I don't think they are anymore. But Mizzou has been expanding that program so that now it's not just journalism, but they also have a StratCom component for students who are interested in strategic communications, and they have another component for students who are interested in investigative reporting. So they'll have about 50 students come in, and my only complaint about it from a coach's point of view is we don't get to spend as much time with the kids as we used to, because part of it is exposing the students to these various opportunities, jobs, but it's also a PR thing for Mizzou, trying to encourage the students to come to Mizzou, and a fair number do. So it's successful in that point. But I've been doing that for at least 25 years now.
So do you feel like Grandparent University, the time frame and structure of it works well?
It does. We've made it work. Let's put it that way. It's like I said, we only have them for a few hours Thursday afternoon and a few hours in the morning, and they're gone. Of course, like Mizzou's program, GPU, they're exposing them to a lot of different things besides just these majors. They get campus tours, they meet with student athletes, Pistol Pete, all of that. So it's a bit of nostalgia for the grandparents, but a bit of exposure of college life for the legacies. And so I think it works well.
It's my understanding that there's a small stipend for faculty who participate.
There is. Emphasis small. Well, the problem is, if there's only one instructor for a major, that's fine. But for the program that we do in broadcasting, we need at least 3 or 4 people. Stipend doesn't increase per major. So it just gets split into smaller pieces.
Okay.
But still, for 8 hours work is basically what it amounts to. It's not bad.
So become pretty easy since you've done this for so long?
Yeah, it has. And, it all goes back to Chase and what he had set up initially, doing all the research, getting photos like from the library archives, and shooting video so that we had all of these elements in place. So initially we wanted to give them that experience of, reporting on the field, so which is why we sent them out there, but found out it was much more practical. And then actually at the time we started, we didn't have a green screen like we do now. So that made a difference.
Is this an activity that you have included on your annual appraisal and development reports?
Yes.
Is it important to your college?
It fits under the category of service. When I was hired, there were no research expectations because I don't have a PhD. I only have a master's. And I'm probably the last person that will be hired in the school on a tenure track like that. Everyone else who has been hired, they're either clinical, so they don't have research expectations, although if they want to do research, that's great. And we do have several people, because they have PhDs and they've been doing research, they want to continue. And the hope is that at some point, some of those clinical positions we can make tenure track. For others, for our A&Ds, they look at number one, teaching, and then research. And there's some departments on campus, I'm sure that research is valued higher than teaching, especially if they're bringing in $100,000, multi-million-dollar grants and things like that. But service is also a component of it. So service could include things like GPU. It could be serving on committees, whether they're in school or on campus, or there's another organization I've been involved with as long as I've been here. It's called the Oklahoma Broadcast Education Association. And this is a group of broadcast educators from most of the universities in state. And we get together several times a year. We work closely with the Oklahoma Association of Broadcasters. They've been great supporters of the program. And they put on OETA. We would do a student day with them in the fall, and then we'd have a student day with OAB during their spring conference. But with cutbacks and funding and all of that, we've still been able to do it at OETA, but OAB has been picking up some of the financing of that, especially for the scholarships. So the OAB is a wonderful organization and a great supporter of education, broadcast education in Oklahoma. And we're fortunate to have the great working relationship that we do with them. Not many states can say that.
Do you recall if any grandparents have come multiple times with different grandchildren?
Yes.
To your major?
They have. Yeah. Not a lot, but yeah, over the years there's been a few.
Mm-hmm. Are you aware if any of those kids have grown up and decided to go this route for their college?
Not that I'm aware of. Not yet, anyway.
Okay. Okay, let's go back to Tess Money and her participation. Were you the person who first invited her?
I think Chase was, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But Tess had been one of my students, and she's just been awesome. There was only 1 year that she couldn't do it, and then we had another alumna of ours who had been working at another Tulsa TV station. She came over and did it. And, but yeah, Tess has been great.
So
and she says it's her favorite thing to do all year.
Oh, that's nice. So she's been participating as long as you have been?
Pretty much.
Okay, great. Okay, so it sounds like you have supplies that you get for the
Yes.
little jump drives for the class, things like that.
That's
Are there
the
other
only thing we
expenses?
need, because we have all the other equipment
Mm-hmm.
in the school. So the only thing that we need are a jump drive for each of the legacies to take home with them.
Does the Alumni Association
Pays for
pay
that.
for those?
Yeah.
Mhm. Okay. Okay, so I noticed that your class ages are listed as 9 to 13. Has it always been that way, or did it originally start at the 7-year mark?
Yeah, it started a little bit younger, but then we found the younger kids, 7, 8 years old, a number of them weren't that skilled at reading at that point. And so we raised the age. And I wouldn't mind raising it up to 10, frankly, because it's still an issue at times. Because we want the kids to have a good experience, and we don't want them to feel embarrassed.
Have you had any that were just really reluctant to do this?
We did have one, I want to say last year, or maybe the year before, who did not want to go on set with Tess for the program. But she did her story, and we ran the story in the program. She just wasn't on camera until the very end when we get them all up on the set with Tess.
Did the Alumni Association provide any guidance to faculty on how to teach for this program?
Not really. They leave it up to us. We propose, okay, we're going to do this, this, and this. And I'm sure if they had a question about it or something, they would raise it.
Looking back over your years of participation, are there any other incidents that stand out to you that were funny or touching or challenging? Anything in particular?
There's always something every year. And one of the most gratifying things about it is the grandparents, how grateful they are, being able to spend that time with their grandkids, not just in the major, but everything else that they do on campus while they're here. And over the years, we've received several nice emails or notes saying, thank you so much for all your hard work. You guys were so patient with them, that kind of thing. And so, yeah, that's gratifying.
How does it work if you have grandparents that have multiple kids with them? Does it work okay?
Well, we've done a couple different things. We only had about 8 scripts prepared, I think, last year. And we had like 10 kids because you had siblings. And so what we would do is split up the script. So one would read one line, the other would read the next line, like that. And that worked okay. But, there's been so many great things happening on campus. The McKnight Center, the tennis facility, O'Brate Stadium, that we can do stories about so that we have more stories for them to do.
So you've increased the number of scripts that are available?
Yes.
Do the kids choose?
No, we get a list of names usually that week, and I go ahead and plug the names into the scripts. And there was a little bit of a mix-up this year because one of them had been listed as a legacy but was actually the grandparent. And then we had another grandparent and legacy who, for whatever reason, didn't come. And then we had another grandparent and legacy who got put into the major. So we were, cutting and pasting.
The Alumni Association surveys participants. Is that survey feedback shared with you? If it pertains to your major?
Yeah, that's the only time.
Has it informed how you conduct the class at all?
We haven't got that much feedback from them.
So,
other than things like I said, really appreciated Jack and Max and Sambor's patience and, all of that.
So what do you see as some of the benefits of Grandparent University for faculty like yourself?
It's an opportunity of service. it's fun to work with a younger generation than we typically work with. And in my case, working with grandparents who are my peers, in fact, I'm sure that I'm older than a few of them now, the last couple of years at least. But it's just a fun thing to do.
Do you have grandchildren?
I have 13 grandchildren.
Has participating in Grandparent University informed anything about how you grandparent?
Not really.
Mm-hmm.
Because up until a few weeks ago, all of my grandkids lived at least a couple hours away. Most of them were in McKinney, Texas, the Metroplex, and 4 others were in Missouri. So, I'd see them 3-4 times a year. That'd be about it. But a few weeks ago, 7 of them moved here. Their dad got a job in Stillwater, and so it was all quick. And it's my second oldest daughter's family. And so they started school last week, and so far everything's going well.
Well, good. Did your kids come to college here?
My oldest daughter and son graduated.
Mm-hmm.
My 2 younger daughters attended some, but they never finished.
Mm-hmm.
And they all worked at Walmart at one time or another.
Is there anything that you would share with faculty who might be on the fence about teaching for Grandparent University?
I think the key to it is coming up with an activity that the students are capable of doing and having something to show for it. Like the students in the architecture program, they build a city. And when you go to commencement on Friday afternoon, you see this cardboard and paper city there. Mm-hmm. For the entomology, they'll put together displays of bugs and things like that. We have our news program. So coming up with an activity that the students are capable of doing, the legacies, and something that the grandparents will enjoy as well. Mm-hmm. But it's fun. Go for it.
Do any other incidents or stories stand out to you?
Not really. I mean, we've been doing it so long,
mm-hmm.
and we've got the kinks pretty much worked out. It's just little things that come up. Anytime you're dealing with technology, of course, things are going to go wrong. So, but it's nothing we haven't been able to handle and go on from there.
Do you have graduate student assistants who help?
Upon occasion.
Mm-hmm. Not regularly, though.
No, because they're not around.
Mm-hmm.
So if they happen to be in the area at the time, but primarily it's myself, Max Andrews, Sam Bordale, who's his media specialist at the Ocala Media Group, and our engineer, Landon Green. Mm-hmm. And between the 4 of us, because it doesn't take that much to run the studio, you mic the kids up, put them in front of the green screen, focus the camera, the mics are on, roll with it.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a host, a major host, who also comes?
That would be Tess.
Tess.
Yeah.
Okay.
When we put the news program together Friday morning.
Okay. Some groups have someone who maybe they're an extension person or a volunteer.
Oh, yeah.
There's always a volunteer.
There's always a volunteer.
Mm-hmm.
working with the Alumni Association. They're the ones who make sure that the snacks get to the right place at the right time and make sure that the grandparents and the legacies get to the bus when they're supposed to and that kind of thing.
Okay. All right. So it sounds like you have had a good experience with it. You plan to continue participating?
I will, as long as they want us to.
Okay. Is there anything that you can think of that you think would improve Grandparent University from your standpoint?
Well, I think we've got most of the kinks worked out. You know, after 20 years, you would hope that we had. There's always room for improvement. You know, like I said, we want to add more stories about different places on campus. I mean, we can talk about Morrill Hall and its historical significance, but that's not as exciting as Boone Pickens Stadium or O'Brate Stadium or Gallagher-Iba. So, or Theta Pond even, you know. So, just coming up with things like that.
Okay. Is there anything that I haven't asked that you would like to share?
Not that I can think of, Karen.
All right. Well, thank you very much for participating in the interview today. I've learned a lot about how you handle your class for Grandparent University, and it's been really fun.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, so we had one more topic that came up that we want to include with the interview, and it has to do with the Grandparent University T-shirts that are provided every year.
Yeah, both the faculty and all the participants get these T-shirts. And that's great, except this year's design we had a problem with because there was green on the picture on the T-shirt. Well, when you put someone in front of a green screen and they're wearing green, you see right through them.
Oh.
So when we were shooting the student stand-ups this year, we had to do tight headshots.
Oh.
Because they were all wearing their GPU T-shirts. But I was joking with Chase at the graduation ceremony, and I said, "Didn't you have a look at these T-shirts before? You should know better. Don't put green on them."
That's pretty funny. Did you let the kids see what that looked like?
No, because I hadn't even thought about it. Max caught it because he was up in master control running everything. And so he had all the shots framed, the headshots framed tightly so we wouldn't see that. But most TV stations, I think initially they used either blue or green, but so many people on camera were blue, they've gone pretty much to green, and it's a bright green, which people typically don't wear except that one day a year.
That's a good addition to the story. So I'm amazed that you have all of your T-shirts.
I do.
That's great. Yeah.
I don't think they all fit anymore, but I have them.
Okay. Well, thank you for adding that.
You're welcome.